Hello. This is Dr. Bill Bledsoe bringing you the explanation of Together We Are the Counterinsurgency. This is a short manual that summarizes a whole bunch of different legal information for the U.S. military. I've got everything documented where they can find it in the legal documents. And so it's a very important manual, and I'm going to explain it here. Understand, like it says down bottom on the front of the manual, this is the first time in United States history where our governments were occupied by enemy belligerents. And it's your choice. You can do nothing and accept the Chinese Communist Party control of our country for generations to come, or you can join the most important and largest letter writing campaign in United States history to empower the Joint Chiefs of Staff and save our country. The military must go by the book, and that's the difference. That's what you've got to understand. That means there are certain laws that they must follow, like we have the Geneva Conventions, we have all sorts of war crimes that are listed that have been agreed to by our country. If they commit a war crime, they can be executed for it. They can be tried and you know, it's very serious. They must go by the book. So what book must they go by? There's two important ones. The Department of Defense's Law of War Manual, 1,200 pages. This is a summary of all the Geneva Conventions and all the war crimes and everything that it is illegal and legal for them to do. And it's important that we follow the book, and I will do it and explain how we have to do that if we're going to save our country. The other book that's really important is the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the highest military in the U.S. It's all the highest officers in each of the different branches. The Joint Chiefs of Staff wrote a book that they just revalidated about a month and a half ago. And they want us to know about this book. Counterinsurgency is the action of the military to help return the original government. I'll explain it. And so those are the two really, really important books. What is an insurgency? An insurgency is the act of some bunch of criminals, in this case, acting to pay off our politicians, pay off our judges, by the computer election system and absolutely overthrow a government. And this has been going on for decades. An occupation, defining an occupation, is after the insurgency. Then we have the criminals put their people in charge of the government. Okay, when they get control of the government, then it's an occupation. And this is really important to know the difference between an insurgency and an occupation. A criminal occupation is when criminals do this. They don't give a damn about the people. They don't give a damn about the government. They just want to steal and pad their pockets. So there's a big difference. A criminal occupation, we know what to expect. They're going to destroy everything and do their best to pad their pockets. And then the third thing to define is that word counterinsurgency. That's the people that realize our government's been occupied, it's been overthrown, and want the original sovereign government back. So that's the counterinsurgency. There are three different groups in the counterinsurgency that's going on right now in the United States. The first is We the People. 80 million people or 100 million people supposedly voted for the former President Trump. That's the first part of the counterinsurgency. The second part is the U.S. military that does not want a criminal occupation and overthrow of the government. I mean, they are sworn to prevent this, and under military law, they must prevent this. The third part is the old sovereign governments former President Trump and all his staff and all are also fighting as counterinsurgency. So there's three parts: the people, the military, and the old sovereign government that are all parts of the counterinsurgency. That's why the book, Together We Are the Counterinsurgency. It's more than one person. Occupation by the Chinese Communist Party and its allies is very simple, very well documented. The elections were stolen. You can go to Mike Lindell at frankspeech.com, and he lists 19 simple little computer commands that came from China, all of them documented, that flipped 19 little commands, all from Chinese supercomputers that we're watching, flipped the United States elections in 5 swing states. So it's a criminal theft of our elections. The Russians joined in, Iran joined in, so it's other criminal allies. People that want it are the human traffickers, drug traffickers. They want our borders taken down so that they can profit. All the criminals want to profit from this overthrow of the US government. The main thing that you've really got to understand that the military has to step in and fix is this fake digital money. This overthrow of our government by these criminals, by these enemy belligerents, has been done without it costing them one single dime. We lost our dollar system back in, I think it was 98, when they allowed international banks into our country so that they could not be audited. And so when they did that, the banks are suddenly allowed to wire money into the United States, into our banks. And nobody can audit the Chinese Communist Party bank. So they don't have to have a dime in their bank to wire the money into the US, pay off George Soros, pay off the politicians, pay off the judges, pay off the news media so that they think they're getting really rich by the Chinese Communist Party, by these criminals. But they don't have a dime in the bank to do it. So, and this is very easy to prove. Think about, there's only 2 trillion real US dollars printed and circulating in the entire world, okay? That's on the Federal Reserve website. So just think 2, don't worry about what a trillion is. Just think 2 trillion in the whole world of real Federal Reserve notes, okay? Yet the Chinese Communist Party say they gathered up over 1 trillion of it, over half of it, and wired it, held it in their bank and wired it into the US to buy US Treasury bonds. Totally physically impossible. They cannot do that. It never happened. It's all fake money wired into the US. This is much, much greater than just them. Foreign enemy banks, belligerent banks, have wired in 28 trillion into the United States to buy our US Treasury bonds, but there's only 2 trillion in the whole world. So it's all banking fraud. One bank alone in 2011, Bank of America, claimed FDIC losses, which is our tax dollars paying to bail out a bank that's failing. They claimed they lost 75 trillion US dollars in derivative losses. So this is all banking fraud to destroy our country, to hurt the middle class. Who really gets hurt by this? They're dumping all this money in, our milk goes up, our food goes up, our gas goes up, everything goes up and up and up, and our salaries don't. So who gets hurt? They're stealing and destroying the middle class in the United States. So blue collar workers, any middle class people, they want to steal and destroy and take everything they can from our families. That's just what a criminal occupation does. So the big question is, when can the military act or not act? They can only act in an occupation. So that means that they had to watch, they cannot act during an insurgency. They had to watch President Trump lose. They had to watch Biden be put in by the Chinese Communist Party. Then they had to watch Biden put his people in the government. Once he has his people in the government, then it's an occupation and they can move in. And the counterinsurgency wants to return the old original foreign government. But the occupation, until it's an occupation, the military is not allowed to come in during the insurgency part. So now we're at that stage where they can come in, but there's another really bad problem here. Say there was a government that was a horrible dictatorship, and they were really, really hurting people right and left. And the rebels came in, overthrew it, and brought in a republic, and the people love it. Well, if 90% of the people want it, the US government, the US military is not allowed to come in and act. That would be a war crime to overthrow a government and put back in this criminal government that nobody wants. So 51% of the people must show the military that we want the old sovereign government back, that we are the counterinsurgency and we want the old sovereign government back. So how do we do this? Right now in America, 99% of the people are doing nothing. That means they're accepting the Chinese Communist Party rule for generations to come. Doing nothing in legal terms is called tacit agreement. That means that you agree to it without doing anything at all. And that's what we're doing in the United States. 99% of the people are doing nothing. So they agree to Chinese Communist Party control of our government for years to come. We must prove that we're 51%, the counterinsurgency. We must prove that we're 51% to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So we're going to do it by a many million person mail-in campaign to the Joint Chiefs of Staff, letting them know that we will not accept the Chinese Communist Party rule for generations to come. We are going to take our country back. And they are forced by military law, by our Geneva Conventions, by all the things that they must follow. They are forced to save our country, and they can come in and stop this fake digital dollars. That's one of the first things we're going to have to do. We can't fix the elections till we stop the fake digital money coming in from China. So it's your choice. You can either join this mail-in campaign by going to the website, counter-insurgency.us, printing out the letter to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. It shows 9 different addresses to send them to. Handwrite envelopes, because they don't read computer-generated envelopes as quickly as they will handwritten envelopes from people. Identify yourself. Be clear. Now, you can ask for anything you want from the US military. Once they start acting, they, according to the counterinsurgency manual, they must help the counterinsurgency, us, all the way down to the village and neighborhood level. That means if you think your county was hacked, military has all the documentation. Ask them for it. Get active, write the letter to all 9. These 9, why we're doing 9 people is because it includes all the different branches of the US military, plus the heads of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. So that's why 9. So write to all 9 of them, ask for if they have any way to tell how your county was hacked, and ask for the information. And then if you find out, then you can do something about it. You can tell them that you will do something about it if they just provide the information. You can ask for anything you want. I recommend writing them every week, asking for something different, just flooding them with millions and millions of mail, of letters from the counterinsurgency. So in summary, it's your choice. You can allow the Chinese Communist Party to steal everything they can from our families, from middle-class workers, from blue-collar workers, for generations to come, or you can become a dedicated counterinsurgent through a letter-writing campaign to empower the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Your family's freedoms for generations to come depend on you taking action and writing these letters. It's your choice. I thank you, and you have a blessed day.